This is bad. This is bad.
Murder, sacrifice and phantoms await the most haunted team on the Isle of Wight. Hello and welcome to Most Haunted. 800 years of history stand on today's site, but so too do dark ghostly figures, along with disembodied voices and sudden temperature changes. With all this in mind, I had to bring you to Appuldurcombe House. Nestled away near to the southeast corner of the island, Appuldurcombe is a solemn and stark reminder of former glories. A house has stood here since 1200, with this current property now 300 years old. However, time hasn't stood it in good stead. Despite housing the same family for 3 centuries, a series of misfortunes have recently beset this home. Hoteliers, scholars, monks, even army troops have all used Appuldurcombe since 1855. But the damage inflicted by a 1943 German bomb has long since rendered this building an ancient and apparently haunted ruin.
This, at one time, was the finest house on the whole of the Isle of Wight. And Henry VIII actually stayed here. In fact, the Worsley family, who lived here for the best part of 300 years, James Worsley was actually no less than a whipping boy for Henry VIII. That is someone who took any punishments that the king should have had. He was actually a page boy, and King Henry VIII made him Sir James Worsley. And from then on, the family had a title.
My affiliation with Appuldurcombe House is that my family own the house and the estate, which runs to 300 acres, and it's an historic park designed by Capability Brown, and the house, designed by John James, was built in 1701 until 1713.
A troubled phantom has been seen running up and down these stairs, brushing past unsuspecting guests, and a ghostly candle has been seen flickering in the middle of the night.
In 1805, this house was left. It became a hotel in 1855, which didn't work. In 1867, it became an academy for gentlemen. And then in 1909, it was occupied by the army, and also in the Second World War. And now all we see is nothing but a sad, forlorn ruin with ghosts.
Down here in the claustrophobic cellars, dark shadows move from side to side, and people often feel that they're being watched.
My paranormal experiences have been a couple, actually. The first one I had was when I was about 25, and I was working. We used to have a dairy herd of cows on the farm, and I was working with the cows, and at about 11:30 at night I had to go out and check the dairy cows to see when they were calving, and I went out onto this really eerie night, and there was mist sort of floating across the fields, and you could hardly see the grass, and it was as still and as quiet as anything, and I could definitely hear people talking, but there was no one about apart from the cows. It was absolutely quiet, and I just heard these 2 voices, and I'm sure there was somebody around, but I couldn't see anyone anywhere.
There's an interesting story of 2 boys in 1567 that were actually blown up by gunpowder near the gatehouse. Their ghosts are actually heard screaming in the house that now occupies the site of the gatehouse.
Amazingly enough, everyone who comes to the house itself always says that if you have a feeling of joy, a feeling of happiness, not one of sadness, but a feeling of happiness from the house, and if they feel like they are in contact with any spirits or any paranormal experiences, they think that they're happy spirits, not sad or unhappy ones.
This used to be the main entrance to the building, and it's said that a ghostly carriage draws up in pitch darkness pulled by pale horses. Many people have also heard the laughter of a young boy echoing in the dead of night.
Another interesting story, which I've only read recently, is that a monk has been seen wandering across the front lawn, obviously wearing a grey habit, but also carrying a wooden staff in his hand with a lantern on the end of it. Now, from 1200, we believe there was some form of monastic building here, but in 1901, the Benedictine monks from Cor Abbey actually moved here and occupied this building while the abbey was being rebuilt. So whether some misdeeds went on while they were here, perhaps David, perhaps Derek will find out later for us.
Parapsychologist Kieran O'Keefe has already made his way across the Solent and already has a keen eye on the contributory factors that this predominantly exposed environment holds.
Now, I should imagine at Appuldurcombe it's going to be really difficult to conduct an investigation.
It is going to be a very, very difficult location to investigate because part of it, there is no roof. It's very, very open to the environment, to the wind, to the temperature. So it will be very, very difficult to investigate, yeah.
For me, this is really interesting because the hall is like a blank canvas. There's nothing here whatsoever to suggest the people that once lived here, what it used to be. So that'd be quite interesting as well, to see if we actually walk in and go, well, there's nothing here, therefore we're going to feel nothing.
Definitely, yeah. From the exterior, there might be some sort of clue as to the period in history that we're looking at, but certainly with the interior, you're right, there's no visual prompts at all that would give anybody on the team any clue to historically what they should be expecting to experience. There are some clues in some of the other rooms where they actually give you information about the room, but Alex has already been around and covered up those to make sure that nobody is influenced by the information there.
What are you looking forward to tonight? Is there any particular place that you would like to spend some time in?
I'm looking forward to being down in the cellar because one area of specialty for me is this idea of infrasound, and I think we may be looking at a source of infrasound down there. In addition to that, just being in every room here I think will be fascinating just because the number of shadows that the light as it changes over the course of the investigation will throw up.
Well, apart from being frozen to death, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, should be great.
So our Baroque-style abode has plenty to offer this most haunted investigation. And with both spiritualist mediums Derek Acora and David Wells having now arrived on the Isle of Wight, we could begin to sample the apparent afterlife at Appuldurcombe House.
All I can get here is wafting all around me. It's people, busy, women, ladies, well, and you know, and it's the food, the cooking, and the fragrance of food here.
Yeah.
Oh, thick and fast. So I would say in this area here, there would be kitchens or, you know, where food was really wholesome. I can smell bird, I can smell, you know, fowl getting cooked, and also you know, piglet and stuff like that.
What time period?
Oh, in between the times of the 1630 up to the Victorian times. In between that.
Right. Okay.
And also into the Victorian times.
Right, so that's a big, long period that
Absolutely.
these rooms would have been used for?
Yes.
OK, all right.
OK. Do you hear that chant? Do you hear that? It was like two men chanting. Did
No,
you hear?
it's a drain pipe.
Oh, was it? OK.
Yeah.
Sorry, it sounded like it to me.
I know what you mean, because you can hear it there. Listen, it'll happen again.
It's the spring on
Oh, is it the spring?
On the door. It all sounds
Okay.
like a drain.
Ah,
Yeah, that's
see?
it. Yeah.
See, your ears are just here.
Yeah.
So a homely and domesticated feel to the first of Appuldurcombe's barren rooms. And from there we move through to an area that one might expect to have once played host to such feasts and frivolity. The Great Hall.
Tell me if you feel anything while you stand very close to this symbol. Tell me what your immediate feelings are, Ivy. Kieran.
I don't feel anything.
Well, I
Nothing at
feel a
all?
bit apprehensive because you're obviously about to say something about this.
Okay.
Rather than any...
Well, maybe if we stand three of us collectively
Yeah.
and just see if we can pick up those energies that I'm receiving here now, okay? If we were to take this up here now, okay, below, okay, is the symbol of a pentacle. There is satanic, not just worship here, but practices. the black arts. There were people slaughtered here, hideously slaughtered. And what's below there is this inverted pentacle, and also symbols that go around. And it's like as if I'm going in to those conditions, and the chanting and what have you to this, and the dark arts worship to the dark side of life. And it is like the evil of the high priest, the darkened high priest, and the priestess. There was two of them that were head of this evil coven and the practice here, and they were well-to-do individuals.
When was this? When did this happen?
Without a doubt, was in the 16th century.
So you said there were two people?
Yes, a man and a woman.
A man and a woman?
I feel it was a husband and a wife.
Right.
He would have had knowledge. He wouldn't have practiced like they did in the earlier days, but he would have been interested in the dark side of the occult, and he would have been knowledgeable of what went on here by his forebears. I'm not saying the last one was actually practicing the dark arts, was just had empathy towards it. And he would have been knowledgeable of all the slaughter and the things that went on in the lower areas. Mm-hmm. Down. Mm-hmm. And, you know, down there is the putridness of the agonies, the hate, the blood. Oh, the blood flowed like a river here, in two streams. This here, can I just tell you, the Victorian era of time.
Right.
Place this here on top to cover that up, the knowledge of it. Mm. If these were taken up now, we'd go down and you would see it. You're standing directly above that evil force, and it's still activated, even though it's covered up. The energies, okay, are not seeping through.
No, I can't feel anything.
They're not heavy, I can tell you. But the essence is there. So maybe it's a good thing that it doesn't get taken up, because I feel what would happen here, you get all that negative energy and anger and despicable thoughts coming out like a negative spiritual cloud, and it would affect not just this building, it would go out and affect the area.
So the two people, the husband and wife, they covered it up themselves, did they?
I feel that they would have had something to do with it, yes.
Right, so they knew it was here and then
Absolutely.
They covered it up?
Yes.
Right, okay.
So could this fine floor purposely hide darker and deeper sacrificial secrets below? And what other dangers lie waiting in store at Appuldurcombe House?
This is bad. This is bad.
Lying 3 miles west of Shanklin, the eerie confines of Appuldurcombe House already appear to harbour a secret, austere history that is far from refined. Nobility may have once called this their home, but what does lie beneath? Derek feels that the Great Hall floor literally hides a bloody and sacrificial past, so we headed to this apparent source, the complexly winding and isolated cellar.
Just as, you see, just here, especially here, it seems to be a vortex, like a threshold. As I walk in here now, then it takes on. It's like, this is the inside, that's the outside. What belongs here doesn't belong out there. However, if we can just walk along here now, as we can see the crew in front of us here, and it's yourself and me and Kieran, along these walls, I feel just what's emanating. Okay, to all intents and purposes, I suppose it looks like a cellar. And it is, to all intents and purposes, a cellar. But I do not feel it was always a cellar. This, you know, cellar contains stores and stuff like that. Could be wines, could be food, meat and stuff. And no doubt different things were held here because the residual suggests it has. But before that, feelings here of a putrid, broken spirit, is in this atmosphere, broken spirits, an abundance of them. I mean, literally, the only way I can say it, being brought in here at different times, hundreds upon hundreds of people at different times. And, you know, the only way I can put it, as we go along here, I would just say, my eyes are just like, I said earlier on about, like two rivers of blood.
Yeah.
These gullies here, okay? And it's like saying, I just drenched these gullies in pure blood. Streams.
Almost as though these were built for that purpose, you mean? Or?
Well, you know, that could be the case of it. There's certainly a lot of bloodletting going on in this area. And pure souls, you know, when I say pure souls, souls here that were waiting for their ending and just shackled against the walls here, either side, going along through this area, the cellar.
Right. And these were just innocent people that were just, what, brought off the streets?
There was a mixture of it. There was people that were against these people that were performing and linking with the dark arts. There were people who they had things against, who talked about them, tried to bring them out in the light in their day, and they tortured and killed those. There were most definitely pure innocent souls that were just of the day, that were just like in the wrong place at the wrong time, snatched and brought here as well.
And you're saying this was in the sort of 1800s?
No, this was before then.
Oh, right.
Yes, this was before changes. A lot of changes took place here to change this into cellar area in the Victorian times. This went on before.
With settlements known to have existed here for 800 years, many of the astral energies associated with this land may be untraceable, but certainly not untenable. Nightfall presented us with the ideal opportunity to switch our cameras to night vision and head outside to two remote cottages situated to the rear of the main house. These buildings may now act as holiday homes, but would David Wells agree with their perceived tranquility?
We were walking past here, the very first thing I can say is I was very aware of a woman's face at an upstairs window.
Oh, right.
I'm not convinced it's actually in this cottage, it may be next door. But it was a very strong image and a very swift, you know, mop-capped kind of image. And yet, it doesn't seem... It seems more to me to do with what used to be here than what is here.
Okay.
So she's not living in this house, she's living again in her house, which is a different kind of... And it seemed like a smaller cottage.
Right.
You know, it seemed like a much smaller cottage, which is why it may seem like it's between the two, because it was sort of in the middle.
And who was she in relation, do you think, to the main house?
Oh, she was... She's more like a... She's actually like a milkmaid.
Okay.
You know, she's more of a... Certainly a servant, but more to do with farms and animals rather than actually working in the house itself. That's what it seems like to me. But I think if people see her, they may refer to her as you know, white lady, that type of thing, because again, she appears very pale.
She's like a country wench type.
Yeah, exactly. It's all you know, more Nell Gwyn than the finery that's associated with grey ladies or white ladies. But I think it's this luminescence, and I think it's the fleetingness as well. You look up and you look away and it's gone. Because that's what happened to me earlier. You know, she sort of went bang, bang, she's gone.
Okay.
This spiritual sensing of a white lady may relate to the ghostly figures that have been reported both in and around these outbuildings. But if this was a supposed peaceful presence, what would David feel as we turn to Appuldurcombe's sinister side? The chilling cellar that lies beneath the main house.
Right, we've left that open just in case.
Let's get out quick. You know, we've been in a few cellars, and I have to say this one is all right. It doesn't feel threatening to me.
No.
And it kind of goes for the rest of the building. It doesn't feel... It feels quite flat.
You mean there's not much here?
Yeah, it feels...
a lot less active than many of the places we go. But something that I have picked up on that's, for me, quite interesting is that, remember I said there's this sensation of lots of things going on in the land. Suddenly became very aware of pagan rituals and paganism on this site as well. Wicca, perhaps, which modern, well, it wouldn't be now as modern Wicca, but then witchcraft. Not associated with that, but also some kind of pagan rituals that would have involved bloodletting and animal sacrifice, etc., very strong here. And that, when it's built into the fabric of a building, some people can, on the site, some people may feel that. They may feel the anxiousness.
Right.
But it does feel,
Flat?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if it's flat, it's flat. If there's nothing here, there's nothing here.
Right, I'm aware now of something that, again, might be just residual. And it's just someone going about the daily business. It's a very small character, a very old man, and he's just going about his daily duties. He's only simply looking after whatever was down here, I presume wine. But people, again, may see simply shadows, black shadows of him just moving. Okay. Because you wouldn't expect, if you're down here by yourself, there's nothing to, there's no windows, there's nothing to make a shadow.
Yeah.
So if you were here and a shadow went across, then it wasn't yours.
Yeah.
Then whose was it?
All right. And what time period would you put him at?
It's hard to see because, again, he's just a shadow. Just a shadow.
Right. I think when you're saying about people being down here and not really windows, it's something you do have to be careful of in cellars, and I know we've been on previous investigations. Even though there aren't any windows down here, you still do get some sources of light.
Yeah.
And you just need to be careful of that corner of the eye phenomena as we're walking around.
Okay.
But it doesn't feel...
So that's really interesting. So it's not really active at all?
No, it's predominantly residual, I would say, if anything. But as far as, the chain clankers going, there's not a lot.
The chain clankers. Okay, so there isn't much.
Well, I hope and prove wrong.
Well, so do I, yeah.
But we'll see when we start vigils.
Both psychics had now stated that this area had witnessed forms of ritual bloodletting. And so a formerly harmonious home now appears to house anxiety and horror, emotions that the Most Haunted crew would encounter for themselves. A night of fright did await us at Appuldurcombe House. This Most Haunted investigation has brought us to Appuldurcombe House, an Isle of Wight home for several centuries, but now a scenic but hollow shell. The vastness of Appuldurcombe House meant that the Most Haunted crew would have to investigate many locations simultaneously. Derek, Ian and John had the fortunate job of investigating the comfortable cottages.
If the lovely spirit lady who was in attendance a little bit earlier on, and your energies, or the little boy, if either of you or both of you together are here, we'd really would appreciate, John, Ian and I, that's our names. We're not here to ridicule you. We're certainly not here to do any wrong or harm to you. We can't do that. We wouldn't want to do that. Please try and make us aware through anything that you wish to do. Tap on the television, on the windows, on any of the woodwork, or anything at all. As I say, we're saying it in love and respect to you. We're not here to ridicule.
As with many of the early vigils, Appuldurcombe House was proving to be a quiet location. The Great Hall may now exist in name only, but David Wells wanted to hold a séance within these walls, so Kieran, Kath, Alex, Rachel and myself joined him. Carl and Stuart could be found beneath us in the cellar. Earlier in the day, Stuart had come across a drainage tunnel. We had no idea how far this tunnel went or what was at the end of it. While Carl waited outside, Stuart bravely attempted to find out.
That is what I'm going into. I'm not looking forward to this at all. I'm a gibbering wreck. So, here goes nothing. can't see anything. And I'm scared. I'm just gonna sit here for a second. When I was down here earlier on, I heard a voice telling me to get out. That could have been my mind playing tricks on me, I'm not too sure. But I know what I heard. I've only been down here a minute, if that. And I've just caught an orb on camera. I can actually feel something around my side now. This is bad. This is bad. I'm gonna go further afield now. I'm actually gonna go walk down. So, like I said before, I've just caught an orb on camera. So, that's not dust. You can't get dust down here. Everything's too damp. So, off I go into the unknown.
Please try and talk to us if you can. We're here for you. We just want to know a little bit more about you, that's all. Did you hear that?
Yes.
What do you feel with your hands?
What do you mean, what do I feel?
I feel really heavy. Oh, yeah.
Did you feel it then?
Yeah, it was really heavy.
At the beginning, kind of like, and I thought, must be me. Did you think that?
Yeah, I feel like I can't lift my hands off the table.
Isn't that funny? I'm so pleased you said that, because I thought that must be me.
I don't know whether the camera's going to pick anything up, but at the moment I can hear noises. They seem to be coming from further down the tunnel. Seem to be breathing noises. I don't know what else to say apart from I'm petrified. I don't want to go down there, but I've got to. Is there anybody here? Hello? Hello? I've just heard a noise. Sounded like a moan or a groan or something. It's very difficult to detect which.
I have never had this, Kieran. I have never had this in my life.
Explain what's happening. Your
It
hands
feels like our hands are being pushed. You know, like a glass would be pushed?
Where do
Yeah.
you feel yours are going towards?
The middle.
Right, yeah, I feel mine are going over to Rachel. Yeah, I feel like mine are going over
My-
to
If that's you who's pushing our hands, please could you push them slowly? Could you push them slowly towards the centre of the table? Mine are going to yours. Oh my.
What's back there? I can't see, I can't turn round. Oh shit. Shit. Hello? Is there anybody there? I'm just gonna radio Carl. I'm gonna see what's going on. I'm gonna see where the crew are. I can't bear it down here. Shit, come on, work.
Can you do something else for us? Could you perhaps tap in the middle of the table just once? Can be very lightly.
Gee whiz.
Hello, Carl, are you there?
Over.
Stuart, it's Yvette. Are you all right?
Don't worry, Vet, I'm here. Yes, Stu, are you okay? Hello? Stu, are you okay?
Carl, are you there? Over.
That doesn't sound good, does it?
Carl?
Something just tapped the back of my chair. I felt it. Something tapped the back of my chair.
Okay, what have we got? Is that a cesspool or something? I don't know. way. Oh. Oh, no. I'm not going to fit down there. That's my hand. That's the wall. Hello? 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 I can't go further any down there now. That's the wall. And I've just heard something.
Ask if they don't want us to be here. Please knock on the table.
If you want us to leave, could you please knock on the table?
If you're picking me up, I'm actually hearing noises down here. I don't know where they're coming from. I can't really tell because the corridor I'm in is actually too long, so it's quite echoey. But I'm at the other end. I'm actually at the end of the corridor, and there's actually an offshoot to it as well. But I can't actually get down there because it's literally about, I'd say about 15 inches, something like that in width. So I'm just going to stick it out here for another 5 minutes or so. Over.
I know what you mean now about the hands. My hands they want to move.
Oh. Ask again.
Is there anyone there? Is there anyone who wants to make contact with us? Please make this table move. One of our chairs move, make a noise in the room. Maybe touch one of us gently.
Oh, I can actually feel something touching me now. Okay, I'm gonna try and make my way out now. The atmosphere down here now, you can actually cut it with a knife. It's actually electrifying. I'm gonna have to get out.
Wow.
The crash of a wire door beneath rudely interrupted David's séance, but thankfully we were soon able to determine its source.
Wire door, wasn't it?
It's the wire door to the other room.
Stuart's panic-stricken radio appeals had summoned Carl, who found his colleague dumbfounded, but ultimately extremely relieved. Psychological fear, or more worryingly, several extremes of physical contact. Two separate vigils had produced spine-chilling phenomena that perplexed the unfortunate few present. Appuldurcombe House was proving far from serene, but what other terror awaited us around each and every corner?
What's it going to do?
I don't know.
Most Haunted's latest investigation has brought the crew to a beautiful but now barren Baroque-style home on the Isle of Wight. But the early hours of morning had suddenly seen Appuldurcombe House turn on its occupants. While Stuart was being scared to his wits' end by a claustrophobic cellar, a séance in the Great Hall had proved equally as productive. Spontaneous hand movements, as well as having chairs literally pulled from under us. It was all very worrying, but was it evidential? Derek, Kath, Ian and both Johns headed back to the Great Hall to see if this apparent poltergeist presence would remain so active.
I do know that you are present in this hall. So we're not here to mess about. We know your cunningness. Sam's made me very aware that you are here watching us. So make yourself known now. Come on, negative soul. I'm not afraid of you. None of us are. You can take the pressure off the front of my chest and my collarbones. If that's all you can do. No, definitely. One of them is circling, going around. Back me every time I turn around. It's coming to the back of me again, and it's at the side. And it's like as if he's circling me here. And he's trying to gain entry. He's not going to. I told Sam, he's not coming in. No way, not even for a minute. I'm aware of you now. I'm aware of your movements. You're not coming in.
What are they going to do?
I don't know. Just stay very close together, the collective energies. Get close together. Just give us noises. Show us things that you're capable of doing instead of wanting to house yourself and use us as a vehicle for your venomous nastiness that I know exists within you still to this day. Leave us be.
We just want to know your existence. Touch me.
It's John. Come forward. Derek. You all right, John? Back! Yeah. John, you cool? I've got it. You got it. Give me! Derek, come forward. Derek, come forward. It's Ian.
Derek!
Come on, Derek, come on forward. Derek, come on.
Derek, come forward.
You want me? Give me the bits. Derek, come forward. Derek! No, it's John. Come forward.
Sam, get him out.
Derek?
You all right? Come on, Derek. Don't try to touch him. Sorry.
This violent attack by Derek on Kath was as shocking as it was sudden. Who was the supposed spirit that has seemingly possessed Derek, and why was the spirit's anger directed towards the only female in the group? After a short break, although Kath was shaken, she was okay to continue the investigation. This area of the location, both above and below ground, appears to be the source of most of the paranormal activity, and Carl decided to return to the scene of Stuart's earlier encounter, the frightening and claustrophobic drainage tunnel.
I've been scared doing this job, but this is one of the scariest I've been. I don't know what I'm stepping on. I'm cold, I'm wet, I'm extremely scared, and I can't get out. There's something in here with me. I know there is. I can hear it. I can hear footsteps. I can hear shuffling sounds. How stupid am I to get in this situation? Oh, get me out of here. I'm that petrified I can hardly move. Holy shit, I can hear something and it's getting closer. If that is you, come closer. Oh, shit. I hope this is picking up these sounds, because this is so... As long as I'm not gone rushing at me, I'll be alright.
Is that what it was? I can't get out. Something just touched me. Something touched my back. Something touched my back. I can't get out. Stu! Ow! Where are you? Ah!
I'm near the end. Joe, Hey, grab that. Come on. What's up? Get. What's gone on?
There was stuff in there. It was getting closer and closer. I could hear shuffling. I could see it was right around me. And I asked, and I thought I was right close to the entrance. I wasn't. And I thought, right, if anything happens, I can get out. And something, both hands grabbed me right on the shoulders. For a brief second, I thought it was going to be you. But then I thought, I just heard you behind me. There's no way to get in it. I tried to get out. I tried to turn really quickly. I hit my head on the top. I turned around. I got jammed because I tried to turn around so quickly. I couldn't move my leg. I started to get cramped right here because I was pulling it so much. I just couldn't get out. I couldn't get out.
So Stuart and now Carl had been beaten by Appuldurcombe's mysterious tunnel. Several additional experiments may have provided no further paranormal proof, but we were intrigued. Of all the rooms available to us, why had the core of all of our fears emanated from one particular area, namely the Great Hall and the cellar directly beneath it? Psychology could have played its part, but did so many of us really kid ourselves that haunted eyes, voices and physical reaction were figments of several overactive imaginations? Or had Appuldurcombe offered us a channel that astrals can actually use?
Appuldurcombe Hall was the first real ruin that we've actually spent 24 hours in. And I don't know that it was the fact that there was no roof and no windows, but for me it didn't seem to conjure up exactly. It didn't seem to contain the same sort of spirit action as other places tend to. Although I have to say lots of things happened.
Appuldurcombe House was a fantastic location for the Most Haunted team to investigate. On first appearances from the front of the house, it looks like a magnificent stately home. However, when you go behind the front wall, you find that it's actually quite a derelict building. Now, this is quite analogous to the phenomena that was captured by the Most Haunted team. On first appearance, some of the auditory phenomena appeared quite impressive. However, once you look into it a little bit further, you find that it's not as paranormal as you think it might be.
Do you hear that chant? Do you hear that? It was like two men chanting.
No,
Did you hear?
it's a drain pipe.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, it sounded like that to me.
I know what you mean, because you can hear it there, listen.
At one point, Stuart and Carl actually conducted a lone vigil down in the cellar and found a hidden tunnel that Stuart bravely ventured into.
Hello?
The experiences of both Stuart and Carl in that area of Appuldurcombe House was quite intense. It was emotionally intense and psychologically intense. But from my perspective, there was nothing of paranormal evidence.
I've been scared doing this job, but this is one of the scariest I've been.
Carl actually reported being pushed down on the shoulders. Almost as though somebody from behind was actually pushing him down. He reported this on camera and again immediately afterwards to Stuart.
Something, both hands grabbed me right on the shoulders. For a brief second, I thought it was going to be you. But then I thought, I just heard you behind me, there's no way to get in it. I tried to get out. I tried to turn really quickly. I hit my head on the top. I turned around. I got jammed because I tried to turn around so quickly. I couldn't move my leg. I started to get cramped right here because I was pulling it so much. I just couldn't get out. I couldn't get out.
There are sceptical explanations for what Carl experienced. One of them may be merely the tension that he was feeling actually being involved in a haunting investigation. And you've also got to consider that he had spent many, many, many hours at this particular location, and his body may have merely been tired. A more plausible explanation could be the presence of naturally occurring infrasound. In previous research, people have reported a pushing sensation on the back, sometimes prodding, sometimes their hair on the back of their neck going up. but at least Carl's reported experience is in line with what previous research has found to do with infrasound.
Something just touched me. Something touched my back. Something touched my back. I can't get out. I can't get out.
A regally revered family and over 800 years of history. Yet our 24 hours at Appuldurcombe appear to have only touched on those who still remain, long after many of its walls have been lost. Until next time, sleep tight.
Hello?
Jim,
You've been playing poker.
then poker.
All new Will and Grace, Wednesday at 9, exclusive to Living TV.
And that, Will and Grace, is the second of a special two-parter on tomorrow night at 9. Now stay right there because the analysis of tonight's most haunted investigation continues after the break.